Hey, hey, welcome to Live with Lynn. So if you're here, say hi. If you're watching the replay, be sure to type replay so I know you were here. I'm Lynn Huber, and I appreciate you being here today. So today I'm going to talk about how to stop listening to the negative voice in your head. Most of us are pretty familiar with that negative voice in our head, right? I mean, the one that tells us that we're not good enough, or that we should stop trying, or that we're not worthy, or gosh, there's probably a lot of other things it's telling us. But just because that voice exists doesn't mean we're stuck with it. There's lots of ways to stop that negative talk in your head, and we've got some ideas that are surprisingly effective. So self-confidence, positivity, and mental clarity can all be cultivated, even if it's difficult. And these tricks can help ensure that we don't actually listen to that pesky voice inside of our head telling us we can't accomplish what we want. Most of us, we're our worst critics, right? Shutting down that negative voice allows your confidence, your self-esteem, and your energy to flow and be powerful, not powerless. The whole idea is we want you to be powerful. And so we can't make that voice disappear all the time, always completely, but we can lessen it and not allow it to drive our actions. So here's some ideas to help get that negative thought, that negative voice out of our heads. So the first one, acknowledge the thought. So rather than try to push the thought out of your head, acknowledge that it's there, right? Most of us just allow it to happen and we take it for truth without even bothering to believe that we have the power to change it. So acknowledge that thought. Write it down when you hear a negative voice. This way, you can document the occurrences, you can document it, you can kind of get a more clear understanding because you can kind of see over time what's happening here, and you can, and what you're saying to yourself, right? And then also how you're feeling as a result. That's important too. So kind of make notes. What was the thought that came into my mind? How is it affecting me, and how am I feeling because of that thought? And then look for evidence that your thought is true. So just because you think something doesn't make it true. Just because you think something doesn't mean that it's true, right? So in fact, most of our thoughts are likely to be opinions rather than facts. And most of what's in our head is probably not true. So ask yourself, well, what's the proof that this is true? I mean, so for instance, let's say you get an email from your boss and she wants to have a meeting with you. Did your thought immediately go towards, oh my gosh, I'm going to be fired, or I'm going to be written up, or I'm in trouble? Right? So in that example, what evidence did you have that you're about to be fired or that you're in trouble? Create a list of evidence that supports your thoughts. So maybe there's a reason why you think that. Maybe you called in sick for a couple of days in a row recently, or maybe you missed a deadline on an important project. If we have guilt for something, that might be too what's bringing on those kinds of thoughts. But list as many reasons as you can. So here's another way. The flip side of that is look for evidence that your thought isn't true. So then create a list of reasons why your thought might not be true. So if in that same example about your boss wanting to have a meeting with you, why would it not be true that you're about to be fired or in trouble? Maybe you're one of the hardest workers on your team, and you know that your boss rarely fires people without a good reason. Or maybe you've been called into meetings with the boss before and you haven't been fired before or haven't gotten in trouble. It's not always been bad, right? So if you struggle to find evidence, contrary evidence, pluses and minuses, if you're struggling to find that, which is common when your emotions are running high. This is something that's really important. You have to watch your emotions because emotions tend to make us not think very clearly. So a way around that is to ask yourself, what would I say to a friend who had this problem? If I was talking to a coworker who said to me, I think I'm about to be fired, my boss just called me in, you probably would likely conjure up some reasons why that might not be true, right? So give yourself the same consolation that you would give somebody else. That kind of helps clear your mind a little bit because instead of making it about you, you're twisting it. Okay, so what if it was so-and-so that was dealing with this? What would I say to them? Right? So, hey, and along those same lines, use the double standard method. So most of the time, this is so true. I mean, gosh, you guys, we are so much harder on ourselves than we are on other people. We all are. I'm guilty. We all are. And so next time that negative voice crops up, try treating yourself with the same courtesy that you would if it was a friend. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend. Most of us judge ourselves so harshly, but we're a lot more compassionate when we're dealing with someone else that has the same issue, right? When it's a friend that has the same issue. So remember, you are important enough to deserve your own compassion. Seriously. Here's a really powerful one. Try thought stopping. So when you notice a negative thought, say or yell in your own mind, stop. Just say it, stop. And you can do it in your own mind, or you can do it out loud if you're not around a bunch of people. Probably freak them out. But do it immediately when you notice that voice. And then take 3 deep abdominal breaths. And then envision a quiet, calm, beautiful, and strengthening image that you have already created, that you already have ready to go to as a focal point. And so keep breathing. And then just repeat that as much as you need. This is really powerful, and this can stop that thought pretty quickly in its tracks. So combat with positive affirmations. Positive affirmations are always great. So paying attention to being kinder and gentler to yourself is more powerful than most of us think. Positive affirmations can be really effective to replace the negative voice in your mind. So find or create, positive self-statements that are going to reflect strength and confidence and accomplishments and, hey, even personal rights. By challenging the negative and creating positive emotional strength, you can increase both your mood and your self-respect. I was looking for some research on this, and I found this one. I thought it was pretty powerful. Name your negative voice. So give your negative voice a name. So one of the things I was reading from psychologist Maria Sirois, she says, I call mine Fred, and I tell her that she can come along for the ride, but she can't drive the car. She says, backseat only. Negativity such as fear, worry, anger, self-criticism, it might be part of our mindset, but it doesn't have to be the part that decides where we go and what we're going to do when we get there, right? So she says, Fred is often along for the ride, but I clearly tell her that she's only allowed to be with me as I find my way listening to other voices. So she's there, you're there, the negative thought's there, but I don't necessarily, it can be there. I'm not going to make you leave, but I'm listening to other voices and I'm deciding where I want to go. That's pretty powerful, right? So another one, immediately pair the negative thought with a positive and. So when you have a negative thought, put an and then a positive. So for example, I completely messed up that conversation and I'm worthy anyway. Or I hate this job, and I have the strengths to figure out how to create a new path. Pairing a negative with a positive ending does 2 really important things in our brain. First, it reminds us that we're in control of our thinking and that we can shape our day by shaping our thinking. And second, we begin to trigger more often those parts of our brain that elevate optimism and positive self-regard and creativity. So that's kind of powerful because we're training ourselves to think differently. And then share your thoughts with someone. When that negative voice is running rampant, it can lead us to make bad decisions, right? So instead, call a friend you can trust and ask if you can borrow their clear mind for a while. Just say, I have to run something by you. My brain's kind of not clear right now, and I know yours is, right? So their suggestions may not always be perfect ones. Not everybody, we're all human, right? But in hearing other ways of thinking, it frees up your mind to see things differently. So when you ask them for their advice, it's not like you necessarily are going to take their advice, but it frees up your mind to listen to them, and then that gives you, it opens you up for more ideas. Right? So then you're seeing things differently. You can remind yourself that negative thoughts can exist, but they don't have to be the deciders in any one moment. It's really powerful. I mean, we all have those negative thoughts. We all have that cruel negative voice from time to time. So whether it's you calling yourself names or you always trying to talk yourself out of trying something new, or, try using some of these tricks and see if you can banish those thoughts as much as possible. You might never get rid of your negative self-talk completely, and that's fine. The goal is to recognize that your brain's predictions and conclusions are draining your mental strength. And that's not where you want to be. That's not a place of power, right? So once you acknowledge that your thoughts aren't realistic, you'll be less affected by them. Respond to your thoughts in a healthy way. So that will reduce the discomfort and the unproductive behavior that accompanies the negative thinking. And the more you practice, like anything else, right? The more you practice replacing your negative self-talk, the more equipped you're going to be to reach your greatest potential. After all, you're never going to become your best if you're constantly beating yourself up or dragging yourself down, right? So, hey, how about you? Do you suffer from negative self-talk? What kinds of things do you do to help you quiet that negative voice in your head? Please share with us. I would love to hear. Anyway, hey, that's what I have for you today. Thanks for being here with me today. I appreciate you. Have a great day.